If you haven't been living under a rock for the last few days, you may have noticed that shooting in Battlefield 6 feels really bad. The guns seem like they aren't really that accurate. Whenever you're trying to hit your shots, even when you're aiming down sights, the bullets go literally anywhere except where you are aiming, and it just feels absolutely atrocious and full on RNG. And if you haven't noticed it yourself, I'm pretty sure you've seen it somewhere online. This is something that I flagged when I got to try the game early, but I think it may have fallen on deaf ears. But if you guys played open beta, you probably remember that it did not used to be this inaccurate. You used to have a really good accuracy on your guns, whether you were strafing or just standing still. But now, as of the release of the game, the guns are pretty damn inaccurate and pretty damn unreliable. Now, the devs are aware of this, and David Sirland himself said, oh yeah, just tap fire. I see what he's saying, but I do feel like the inaccuracy or the bloom may be a little bit too strong here. In this video, I'm going to present to you guys for about 7 or so tips that will help you offset the inaccuracies of your gun and making it feel closer to the beta, or at the very least close the gap where you feel like you can rely on your aim and recoil control again. So let's dive into it. Now, starting off, we're going to be using the B36 as the best example here, and we have a 3.5x. I think that'll get the job done, just to really showcase how just how bad this is. That's the recoil. It goes up and to the left. Perfect. Let's just pull down then to the right. That's the opposite. As you can see, the bullets are just going straight around the target. Just painting a picture around them. Even from the start, it's not very reliable. So how do we fix this? So solution number one, and it's very simple. Stand still. Yeah, it's that simple. That's moving, and that's moving versus standing still. As you can see, even if you're strafing in any way, shape, or form, you're gonna be missing. Additionally, if you have some type of movement, when you come out of a slide, when you come out of a jump, when you come out of a sprint, and you start shooting, it's all over the place. It actually continues to be all over the place even after you have stopped. And you'd need a full reset for that to be accurate again. What I've noticed is what you need to do to have the most consistent shots possible is making sure that after you stop, you take a second, wait for your screen to stop moving, and then fire. If you do this too soon, the bullets will be a little bit inaccurate when you come out of that sprint. A stutter step seems to help. And that is also a trick that we have suggested in the tip video previously on this channel, where you can just hold like this and go kind of like stutter step it. But all in all, like just making sure you stand still by the time you start shooting, and there's a full reset. You'll notice when the whole screen has stopped, that's when it's time to shoot. This is just start shooting as soon as we let go. Some inertia. It's not as accurate as it could be. Let's do the same thing but with the stutter step. Now the problem is with that stutter is I did too much, so just a little bit. There's a difference between doing a little stutter step in the opposite direction when you let go of the key or of your movement, is that you get as close to 0 movement speed as possible. You're not sliding or being carried by the inertia, which lets you hit that full stop sooner. You can also just wait, walk forward, and then wait. And then when you feel like it's stable, you can shoot. What this means in an actual game is that if you are running on rotating, which you probably should, you don't want to ever really peek anyone, but you instead want to take a position. You want to hold, let's say I want to hold here. I'll just jump in and then ADS and wait for them to peek. Or pre-peek just one at a time, a little bit of stutter step. Never just run straight into someone and shoot or slide or something. The dispersion. Look at me, look. Yeah, I've been talking to you COD players. Don't go for the slide jump or the jump fire. You're going to be missing everything. It's just too punishing in this build of the game. So obviously less movement is key. It will let you actually stand still and hit those beams that you want. Additionally, this tap firing and bursting, now this depends on your weapon, it depends on your build, but essentially what you need to do is not obviously hold down the primary fire key. Take a second in between burst. I think the B36 is like that, 5-6 bullets. As you can see, and you give it a little time to stabilize. In most cases, it is pretty accurate. We lost it at the end there. You can do it one more time. Close enough. So making sure that you burst will stop the inaccuracy or the bloom to really build up that you would get them holding fire. You'll notice that we take fights over longer ranges, that you might fight somebody who is just spraying or strafing and moving around. If you have the discipline to slow down and take a moment before shooting, you're gonna find that you probably won't clip them faster than they won't clip you, but just avoid being in the open in general. Something else that helps a ton is, of course, mounting. This is a feature I've barely seen anyone use, because I think a lot of people just assume it's a bipod specific feature. You can use it basically with any gun, if not every gun. If you aim down sights near cover and you hit the melee key, as you can see here, it's going to show the hint, I believe. Actually, I think I have to look towards... Okay, the hint doesn't show for some reason, but I believe it's a melee key on PC and probably the same on controller. Okay, let's do a quick test again. Hit the target in the back. Huh? Mounting. Now, obviously, you're gonna have bloom. You can't get rid of it fully, but it is a noticeable difference. So what you could do is when you work in the corners is you can ADS and then hit the little mount here just to stabilize things. I believe this makes the recoil easier to control as well. Definitely less jumpy. So I recommend it in general if you're trying to be exposed as little as humanly possible. I definitely recommend doing that instead of just standing still in the open like an idiot. Then obviously you can also use a bipod. Now we don't have a bipod on this very one. I don't know if I unlocked it on this very gun. I did not. So we're gonna have to pull up an LMG. Same principle, L110 hatchet. You get it from having the Phantom Edition. Now obviously a bipod will let you go even crazier with this. Again, you will not get away with it fully. This is hard about my sleeve then. But it is pretty localized. And just for a reference, let's do this one more time without a big bipod up. And you can see it is a lot jumpier overall. And the recoil is also higher, so there's no reason not to use it. So what most people do when they play shooters is they pick the target, they strafe like this, wide strafes, and then they spray. The most common way to move. It makes it difficult to hit. It's reasonable people would move like this. However, now that we know that you should stand still with shooting, it doesn't really work. But what if you're taking a 1v1 and want to keep moving? You kind of incorporate two things into one. For example, if I start shooting, then I can strafe and then I stop and then shoot and keep shooting and then stop. Or burst, strafe, stop, right? Burst, strafe, stop, burst, strafe. So a bit faster. It's hard to narrate and do it at the same time. So you burst strafe, burst strafe, burst strafe. And you need to make sure you have a full stop in between. You gotta get comfortable with that depending on your gun. And this lets you strafe a little bit. It's slower. You're probably gonna want to wiggle really fast or do your little crouch spams or something. That works really close range. But other than that, you should probably not do that. Now, moving on, there is one more thing that you also can do to minimize your bloom or inaccuracy. And that is, of course, in builds. We've been spending the last few days optimizing the hell out of some builds. And I found that some items will help a ton when it comes to minimizing bloom. Without going too deep into this, what I have found is that there are 4 accuracy stats. Now, I'm not talking about the ones at the bottom right. These seems to be combinations of a bunch of different things. There are 4 keywords mentioned in the description when you read through the attachments. There is recoil, accuracy, sway, and then there's spread, which is different from accuracy. I just can't find a mention, but there is one that lowers spread. So assuming there's not like something wrong with the tooltip, there are 4 different stats. And again, it's not the same as these because these are a mix of different things. You can have 2 guns with the exact same stat down here, but they're gonna handle completely differently. What I found is that if you can improve your accuracy, that seems to be tied in with how much bloom that you have. For the second B36, you have this one, which improves firing accuracy over extended periods. This is with the fluted barrel. And this is without. As you can see, it's a little bit tighter. So by raising the accuracy, the bloom goes down. This is just accuracy in general. Then obviously you have accuracy here. You have accuracy while moving. That's the MW blue. I've been using this so much. Now the problem is I don't have the MW blue unlocked on B36 yet. I had this thing gassed up in LA. I did not here. So we're gonna have to pull out the old, different build of mine, and we'll just do like this. Go for the blue here. I'm gonna show you before and after we turn this thing on. So this is firing with the laser enabled. And let's disable it. So while the static accuracy seems to be unchanged, like if you're standing completely still, you're doing your movement perfectly, it doesn't seem to have changed that much, if at all. I think we're gonna have to check in the edit. When you do strafe or when you come out of your movement, that's when you can tell the difference in the bloom or the accuracy. So let's do a comparison of that. Just a normal strafe this time, not like the smart strafe, just a normal typical gamer strafe. Okay. Obviously, standing still will be unmatched. but it does improve just how tight the accuracy or the bloom is. So obviously, ultimately with this test, you can clearly see that, okay, well, you might not need the MW blue, but in most cases, if you do want a gun that actually shoots where you're aiming, because you're not going to be sitting still all the time, you're probably going to benefit from it. The only few exceptions I found when building my weapons is, for example, PW5, because it has such a good accuracy to begin with, or minimal bloom, that you don't actually need to bother with it. Actually, fuck it, let's do the XTX section, because we did this one. It already has like very low recoil of this build, and we have posted this on the second channel and as a short to check it out. But it has minimal recoil and minimal bloom. And that's actually without a blue laser. It just doesn't have a high bloom. Even when strafing, it's pretty reasonable. But it's still, as you can see, when you start moving, it does become a little bit less consistent. So you could put the blue on here. This might actually be a better example than the previous one. So if you do put a blue on here, they need to be actually good at tracking target standing still at this tiny range. But you can see that there's way less spread even over these extreme ranges. Much closer to when you stand still. Now, whether this is worth 20 or 30 loadout points, that is up to you. In the case of SGX, I didn't feel like it was necessary. It comes down to how smart you are with your movement. It comes down to whether you feel like you fight a lot when you're on the move or not. But I do feel like having a blue laser just makes it that much more consistent. So when we combine smart bursting or tap firing with smart positioning and not running around everywhere or sliding everywhere, more of a play style where we combine that with more of a slower, more methodical play style where you rotate to the cover you want and then you ADS and then you peek or then you hold rather than just running and then ADSing. When you combine all of these things, you're gonna notice that your guns are gonna be more accurate and you will have less bloom. I personally don't love this. I can see why some people would like this, but it does feel kind of shitty if you just want like a mindless run and gun and you just do chill. Also, do keep in mind there is a known bug right now which will randomly max out your bloom after you're sprinting or something like that, which is not supposed to be there. If you do get hit with this perma bloom, all you have to do is sprint again. But obviously none of these suggestions or tips will work if you have that bug, and you need to correct that first and foremost. So these are things that you can do at home to make the experience more bearable, to be able to rely on your aim more than all the weird RNG that's happening with all of the bloom. But obviously I do hope that DICE does take another look at this and make it a little bit less punishing to be moving, or at the very least just remove the randomness, the inaccuracy, the bloom from the weapons in the first place. We already have, as I said, we have sway, we have recoil, and we have what I believe to be spread outside of the accuracy or bloom that already impact our ability to go full laser mode or to just hold down primary fire. And I already think those do enough of a good job to separate the good players from the bad ones. Anyways, I'm curious to hear what you guys think in the comments. Let me know. And of course, I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.